there's been an assault in town. Him, an elder member of public has challenged him to sort of stop him, and he's got assaulted. He's masked himself up so he doesn't want to be recognised. We were only about a minute away. He was making off from the area. I knew as soon as he started venomously struggling, really, there was more to it than just the arrest I got him for.
So he was carrying a double-ended knife?
That knife was in his possession and it came out during the struggle. If he had a knife, some of the others in the gang behind me would have been carrying as well. So the beginning of the next night shift sets, we had a few days off, maybe 4 days after. So I come in at 8 o'clock and the whole squad's been cleared out of the room. Like, what's going on? Oh, you got to come in the office. Got to serve papers on you. Decided it's going to gross misconduct. I was like, you're joking.
My God. Are you actually serious? Is this serious?
You didn't know he had a knife on you, Lorne. No, but when do you want me to find out? When he sticks it in me? It's a bit late then, isn't it?
The anger between the general public and the police is at the highest I've seen as an adult.
A phrase I'll never forget. In front of everyone, my whole squad, PCSOs and everything.
Quick one, guys. I'll be recording Eventful Lives live on stage this year at EMC 2025, the Entrepreneurs Marketing Conference, and it's going to be a banger. We've never done this before, so watch this space. We're taking the podcast out of the studio and into a room with 800 real business owners at an event designed to give you practical, tactical marketing strategies that you can actually implement into your own business to get results. The lineup's massive. Google is speaking, Facebook too, and I'm also going to be bringing a special guest with me. It's all happening on the 19th and 20th of September at Tobacco Dock in London. Tickets are £145 plus VAT, and the price will also be increasing soon. So if you run a business and want to be in the room and see me and the Eventful Lives podcast live on stage, then head over to www.emc2025.com and use the code DODGE20 if you want to get 20% off your ticket. I'll see you there, guys. Lorne, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks very much, Dodge. Nice to be here.
Yeah, very much nice to be here, mate. Nice to have you here. We've known each other a good 20 years now.
It will be, yes.
And what I've seen gone on over the press and the newspapers and the socials, it's just been absolutely crazy this last week for you, I'd imagine. But let's roll all the way back. Why did you get sacked from Dorset Police?
Okay, so after about 10 years of service in Dorset Police, I very publicly obviously got dismissed. One of the main things they said was lack of courtesy and respect during arrest. A slight bit was unnecessary force. We can go into that as well because I really feel that I disagree with some of the things here, and just going against their conduct of behaviour. So
let's just roll it back a bit further. What year was this? When was this incident take place? Where were we? What date?
So we're talking end of January last year.
So end of January 2024.
Yes.
And today we are June 2025. So how long has this been going on for?
Year and a half I've been sitting on what's called gross misconduct. Which is hard, really hard. You know me, I'm a positive guy. Yeah. I like to go out and see people. I like to do a job. I'm very social. And during the gross misconduct, what they do is they put you on a restriction. I had no face-to-face contact, which for me is like it's like an insult. I was locked away I had to come into work in a separate room, wasn't allowed face-to-face contact with public. I personally think that was, demeaning, and also to isolate me, to weaken me, break me before we get the hearing. I was locked away. Like I liken it to like Sloth in the Goonies, completely stuck away. And there's all the new officers coming through, and all they hear is, that guy's on gross misconduct, better not to. And you can see people shepherding away from me as I'm walking even to the toilet. I feel, it was a hard time, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it on the incident. I've seen it on YouTube, whatever. Explain what happened that day.
Okay, so that was on a Saturday morning. Now, I don't know if you recall, but 2 days prior, so on a Thursday last year, we had a massive sort of gang fight up at Lansdowne, outside the college. So it was all balaclavaed, masked, people with a lot of weapons. It was on national press everywhere, front pages. So we were off on the Thursday and a Friday. We come in Saturday morning on a briefing. Normally, what's going on? They just say, yep, be aware. Obviously, what's happened on Thursday, there's still a few possible suspects outstanding. They may be carrying weapons. So I think, okay, right, we'll keep an eye out, bear that in mind during the day. It's a long shift. It's like 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening. We're productive. We've done an arrest for something. I think it was a fail to appear. Myself and my colleague, we've done a Section 1 stop search and report for someone with a knife near the Queen's Park area. Negative. All dealt with very, very well. A few e-scooter seizures for dangerous driving and riding, and dealt with a miss. But then this event involved, which is what we went to. We were on another job about 4:30 in the afternoon. We hear that over the radio, 'cause it's a shared radio channel, that there's been an assault in town, Commercial Road. There's a guy been driving an e-scooter with a couple of others dangerously through the town. A member of public has challenged him, an elder member of public has challenged him to sort of stop him and make the street safer. And he's got assaulted for his troubles. It's all on Charlie Bravo, which is the town cameras. And he's had his glasses broken. He wants the police there with town rangers. The offender's causing a bit of issues, and then he's made off from town rangers. So we're sitting in Boscombe doing stuff, because that's where I'm stationed. And, we sort of like getting on with our job. We can't go to it because we're committed with something else. No one's called up. Right, fine. Okay, no one's called up. Then we get to about maybe 5:15 or something. We're heading to Bournemouth Station just to head in, because we're coming in to sort of finish. And an urgent call from McDonald's. This is McDonald's in Bournemouth, comes across the radio saying that they've had to close their doors at 5:15. Now, this is a Saturday afternoon. You know, Bournemouth Dodgers, lots of families around, children, close their doors because a 14-year-old has been assaulted in the store. They've shut the 14-year-old in, and there's a gang outside. The town cameras confirm it's the same individual that's assaulted the guy earlier is now in part of this and there. So, my threat assessment is like, right, okay, these are two random attacks at this time. He's masked himself up so he doesn't want to be recognised. This now threat level's gone up. Again, no one calls up. End of shift. But me, I'm like, this is what you join for. Yeah. Surely this is what you put your uniform on for. Yeah. That could have been my family, my friends, my daughter's friends, anyone in McDonald's. I think, do you know what? The chances of secondary violence falling out to anyone in the area, this is what I put the uniform on. So, I called up for it. Also looked at it. We were only about a minute away. He was making off from the area. We get directed in, so we're instructed to go anywhere. So we're free to rescue. Yes, directed to go. Full description from Charlie Bravo of the clothing, people he's with. So I've got 100% zoned in on him. Went for what's called, like a silent approach. Pretend, the old, has he seen me first? Pulled in silent behind him, and then got out of the car. And what you see on the video is what happened, to be perfectly honest. I went out that car purely with the intention of arresting and detaining a violent suspect with no injuries and doing it with no complaints. I ended up arresting a violent suspect for the assault with no injuries, no complaint, and what's more, took a real deadly double-ended knife off the street as well. So
he was carrying a double-ended knife?
That knife was in his possession, and it came out during the struggle at the end. Have you seen a picture of it?
Yeah, I have.
You've got a 3-inch blade one end and a Stanley the other.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as he started venomously struggling, really, there was more to it than just the arrest I got him for. So I've arrested enough people. I've been enough struggles. When someone's trying to get away, there's more to it. Because if it was, hey, it's a fair cop, Gov, you got me, no, there was more to it. He struggled so much. And you can see that from me. I am struggling to hold him. And then by the end, when I've called others, there's 4 of us safely to get him in handcuffs. So that sort of shows the force he was using against me. So when we've got him in handcuffs, I'm still thinking, why on earth has he been struggling so much? Because this is not normal. This is not natural. So I'm watching him, turning him over onto his side so he can breathe safely. As we're watching, I see a knife fall out of his waistband. Now, the other officers didn't see that. Now, that's a real concern in policing, that just because they're in handcuffs doesn't mean they're safe. You go back to the real sad occurrence of Matt Ratana, the sergeant in London. The guy was in handcuffs, brought into the station, in a holding cell. He had a gun in his back.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, my risk assessment was high. I'd rather it be high with no injuries than be low because they don't want to fear I'm being rude or anything to them. It wasn't for anything but safety is what I was looking at. And when that knife came out, I was like, damn right, that's it. And he had a prepared excuse. Here on the video, that's mine for work. It came straight out. So that indicates to me the reason he was struggling, he knew it was there. As soon as it came out, that's mine for work. Yeah. Not even a pause. That's it. And then it's tough. You get back and you've packaged all that up, and like in that wave when I come away and you're here, as soon as he's safely cuffed the knives off, I'm like, right, stop restraining, stop resisting. My terminology comes down and everything. I'm now, okay, right, now the danger's over. Right, fine, I can go. But you don't see it on the video they released.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you go back to the station, you write it up, right, God, now I've got
So what have you got to do? Just so, because I don't understand with what you do as a copper there. You've gone there, you've made the arrest, you go back. Have you got to write a full report?
Yeah, so then the other officers took him to what's called interview and deal with the crimes. But I did the arrest, so I've then got to do the arrest statement. I've then got to write up my part of it, and I've got to put the knife that I seized on as evidence. So we're talking now into 12 hours of a shift. I'm knackered. This is my family time, but no, get back and do it. Go to the station. So I write a statement up. And I'm knackered, but when you're writing it up, what you don't realise is you get that wave coming over you thinking, shit, Lorne, that was close.
Yeah.
He had a knife.
Yeah.
You know, if and you suddenly think, whoa. And you can't explain unless you've been there. And it's like, well, if he had a knife, I reckon at least maybe some of the others in the gang behind me would have been carrying as well. So when you hear me in the video, get back.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely...
You're scared for your life. I get it. When you're saying that, you don't know who's behind you. You're pinning him down.
Yeah.
You don't know who's behind you, who's going to come and plunge you or do something or put you in a headlock and there's a big fight kicking on. You don't know what's going on. I think what you did was brilliant.
Thank you, George. I mean, you know me.
Yeah,
I've worked on your events and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked your VIP areas at the Sevens.
Yeah.
And for them to portray me as someone that's like, yeah, you bitch, you did. It's completely wrong.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why they didn't go, oh, Lorne, I see you like that. You're never like that. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, you must have been scared at that time.
Yeah.
No, they threw me under the bus.
Who threw you under the bus? Who was your right-hand man? Was it the one filming it? Did he grass you up?
So I don't really want to go into things. I'll say it factually and then everyone can pick from there what he will. So there was no complaint from the individual. The individual that was arrested, that had the knife taken off him, no complaint. No complaint at all. No injury. So when you get booked into custody, you see if there's any, not even reddening. Now, anyone that's done control and restraint knows it's harder to restrain someone and not use pain and injuries. Yeah. It would. At one point, I'm in like a full mount. I could have rained down ground and pound. You know, literally, I was being the most peaceful I could. Yeah. But verbally,
very, very firm as well.
Yeah, verbally
was perfect.
Dominant. And it
what are you meant to do? You meant to get some kid carrying a blade on him and it'll be nicey. Don't worry about your wrists. I'll do your wrist. No, mate. You pinned down. You found a blade on him. You dealt with it perfectly.
And there's a crowd behind me.
There's a crowd behind you. Don't know what they're doing. You've got your right-hand man who's filming it. What was he doing?
So, you know, we pull up. I'm in the driving side, which is further away. I'm first out the car and round to the offender. So I've covered that distance in, you know. I can't say what they were doing, but if you watch a small clip of the video, and I can play it to you as well, there's a part when you see it, I'm actually kneeling over and the offender breaks his hand free from my colleague's grip.
Yeah.
I instantly notice that. That's when I have to slip down into like a full mount position because I'm thinking, shit, you can't even hold one hand. And why is he desperate on getting that hand from free? Because he goes to his waist, which is where the knife fell out. And it's like, my threat assessment is almost put to me then as though I'm just an angry man. No way. Why can't you understand? That's actually done very, very well. Yeah, I'm not proud of the words I said, Dodge. You know, I teach kids.
Yeah.
I work at your VIP area. Yeah. I walk down Bournemouth Town and...
Mate, you're just to let everyone know who's watching this, he's a superhero around Bournemouth. You're very well liked. You're very polite. People who don't know, you're also hard as nails.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thai boxer. We were doing MMA a few years back and you were teaching me and da-da-da. Hard as nails, very well respected. And anyone who's out in Bournemouth knows you. That's why I think the whole nation has gone crazy on this, and especially people in the Dorset who personally know you.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, I'm coming back from like 20 odd years on the door. I did from time at Bournemouth Uni, and you're talking all sorts of doors, like really nice doors. I see Clute, we had a really good, you know.
You were ahead of our VIP at Bournemouth Sevens Festival.
Yes.
You also, do you remember the time when there was a streaker come on the pitch and you were chasing this naked streaker?
So, yeah, I remember that. I was standing in the VIP section next to one. I think that was the time when it was live on Sky. You had one of the matches. Right. And the cameraman goes, you're not going to do anything. I was thinking, oh, God, I've got to now. And any security knows, you're in a lose-lose situation. You're either going to catch him and end up rolling around with a naked dude in front of everyone. So, again, I came up straight where he wasn't going to see me, got him. But the funny story of that is, George, I don't know if you remember, so got him, you know, he was fine. He was absolutely fine. Top dude. Yeah. So when I went back to the VIP section, and about half an hour later, a girl comes up to me and she goes, oh, what happened to that guy? And I think you'd allowed him to stay in because he was quite happy.
He was happy.
Fun. He was so I said, do you know what? No, he just said, please don't do it again. And he's gone back in and said, that's really nice. It was like the atmosphere was absolutely awesome. And she goes, right. So I'm just going to let you know, my friend over there, she's going to streak in a minute. she wants you to catch her, and I've got the photos from her. She wants you to catch her. If you don't let her do it, there's 10 of us going to do it, so you can't do it. Or you let her go and you give her a 10-second head start. And I'm standing there thinking, what choice have I got? The match is either going to be over because there's going to be 10 naked chicks streaking, or there's one and she's going to let me catch her. Yeah. So, she came on with a horse's head.
That's right, naked, with boobs out.
Yeah, streaking across the pitch. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got to get another one. So I got 2 in one shift.
I remember. But what was that? That must be like 2012 or something, 2013.
Something like that. But it was fun.
Yeah.
Again, like we used to say on the door and things, how you treat people is setting the atmosphere.
Agreed.
So on the door, you're the first face they see.
Yeah.
You can filter people out. You can set people in the right mood for a nice night, and that's it. And that 20 years of doing that is really important.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. Well, you've built your respect up around Bournemouth for many, many years. Going back to that incident then, what happened that the guy, your right-hand man at that time, what happened to him? So did he grass you up?
So what happened was...
Did he grass you up?
So what happened was we were struggling with this person. Now, I'd like to say you can see I'm concerned because there's key indicators. One is I'm telling this person not to struggle. 2, I tell the crowd to get back. I'm aware of the crowd. So maybe the other person isn't aware. Not in a bad... Maybe they've just not been in that situation before. So, that's... I then I'm the one that uses the radio to call for backup. Yeah. So I'm aware, geez, this is getting bad. We need other people. Yeah. The other person didn't. When the backup gets there and he's handcuffed, there's 4 of us. I'm still the one watching, sees where the knife comes from. So, it was experience, I'd say. Yeah. Now, when they've gone back, they've been shocked at the language I've used because maybe the language, maybe they were out of their comfort zone. I don't know. Maybe they were like, geez, I've never been in this situation before, which is bad.
Who complained about the language?
The other 3 officers put in complaints about me for language and behaviour during the arrest.
You're joking me.
No, and it all came out in a hearing. And
so 3 other of your colleagues grassed you up saying you used bad language and you were too forceful?
Basically, yes. And the individual didn't complain, and we got a knife off the street. Now, I think you saw that knife, yeah?
Yes, man, I did. It's a double-ended...
Now, one of those officers described that as a small knife.
It's not a small knife.
Now, from my...
Ollie, can you do me a favour? Can you get a photo of the knife up, please? We'll go back. We'll go back to it. I want to have a look. Yeah,
Because that shows maybe a lack of understanding of threat, which is really bad, because we got a PCC going up to knife victims' families saying, hey, we're doing everything we can to prevent knife crime. Well, your own officers are calling deadly weapons, the same size that unfortunately have caused death in this town, and calling them small knives. Now, I call it a deadly knife. You see how a word can change something. Yes. And that's what this has gone on about, how a word can change something. That's not a small knife. That was a deadly knife. And if it was a machete, it might look bad, but anyone that knows it, a machete needs a lot of contact space. So I would have been better up close if it was a machete. That thing there, all it would have done was literally taken one little slit down the leg. I could have my arteries gone.
Mate, look
permanent
at that.
scar.
Look at the end of that.
That's just under a 3-inch blade.
So a 15-year-old lad is carrying this around the streets of Bournemouth.
That was after he'd been in 2 incidents of potential violence. Now, what's to say that if I hadn't stopped him, there wasn't going to be a third where maybe that knife had come into play, either with get used on him or get used on someone else. Yeah. The main thing is that came off the street.
Yeah. Mate, massive respect, mate. I get it. I see it. Massive respect. I don't know why Dorset Police have sacked you. I don't understand why, because the footage is there. If the footage wasn't on YouTube, people would just make up, what was he bad? What did he do? Did he elbow him? Did he put the nut on him? Mate, I've seen you in action, mate. It would have been annihilated. But my point is, you were just strong.
Yep.
And forceful in a nice way. Okay, you used the word bitch.
But I didn't go in using that word.
So what?
Let's have a look at this. I got out of the car and you're under arrest. My interpretation, I was going to get him. My intention was to pin him against the wall. Yeah. Pin him against the wall, which is what we did in conflict resolution for Dorsoft back in SI when it got introduced back 2002. Yeah. When it first got introduced, and we were working with Frontline, which is Pete Boucher's old company, bless him. Yeah. One of the best around. Now, we did a conflict management course, and it was determined to pin someone against the wall is the safest option, because they can't get any swing on any moves, and also it decreases their escape options. So he then is the one that's pulled under. So we had to slow motion it in the hearing. They weren't interested in my opinion until I slow motioned it down. And they're like, you've seen it before? No, I haven't. But if you, like with any sport, if you're going to analyse a movement, you're going to go through it in slow motion.
But why? I don't understand why your 3 colleagues grassed you up, and I don't understand why you've been sacked, because there's a lad there walking around the street with a dangerous knife. You've pinned him down. You've just pinned him down. You got him nicked, and job done. Why would the old bill not back you and go, do you know what? Well done, Lorne. Thank you. It's another one off the streets. Well, and then the press get hold of it and go, Lorne Castle's taking another one off the streets, guys. Another knife crime. Because I've seen the knife crime rise rapidly in this town. Rapidly. We can go into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm still in shock on why you have been sacked.
Well, I think that maybe the 3 officers at first brought it to the attention of the sergeants. I think that maybe they'd never been in that situation before. So, I don't want to talk badly about them. And I think...
Is a sergeant above you?
A sergeant's above me.
Okay.
I've never wanted to go for promotion simply because I like doing the job on the street. You know me. Yeah. I like doing the job on the street. I keep the streets as safe as I can through engagement. And do you know what? Most of the people I've ended up arresting or dealing with in nightclubs, I get on with.
Yeah.
Bournemouth's a small town. Yeah. I'm not one to create enemies, and that's why I've got a lot of people come back and say, look, fair enough, I was playing up last night, sorry if I caused you harm. Yeah, no worries at all, because it's never personal. Yeah. And that's what I've learned, it's never personal. But I think these people coming into police now, maybe these officers, haven't dealt with as much conflict at that point, and it's all new to them, which is no disrespect, it's all new to them to think, blimey, that I've never heard someone swear and I've never seen that sort of thing. But I think if you look at it and you think, well, you were holding his arm and there's a clip, I could ping it to you, or if you look at it, we can overlay it, like I'd send it to you. But they've put on YouTube, if you slow it down, and my colleague's holding one of his arms and he deliberately gets his arm free and pulls it back towards his waist, and then you see me put my slab up and knee across. I'm like, right, I'm on my own here. Now, no disrespect, but I realised, right, okay, I'm on my own here, and that's what I've got to do, because all it would have taken was one little slice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of them, they carry razor blades under their watches, and so when I said he was dangerous, I was right.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how dangerous, I said he was potentially dangerous. So
did he get nicked?
Oh yeah, I arrested him.
What did he get for that, for carrying a weapon?
So I didn't deal with it, but I've read all the. So the 2 assaults, I only nicked him for 1 assault. So I think the assault in McDonald's, the 14-year-old went home, didn't want to get involved, which is fair enough. Some people don't want to get involved because they want to hide away. I don't know why. And the first guy, unfortunately, didn't support, as in no victim, no crime, with a witness statement sort of thing. But then I arrested him for possession of a knife. Yeah. And so the 2 assaults were sort of written up as like, well, okay, no victim, no crime. They did happen. So he was being violent and he was involved in conflict. And then possession of a knife, I think he got dealt with what's called an out-of-court disposal. Now, I don't know what that is, but the problem is, and my kids have been through school. My kids went through one of the local schools. It was in a little bit of, it was a school in sort of like looking at behavioural issues. And then they got in what's called like consequences, ladder of consequences. And I tell you what, it's changed through its results have been phenomenal. And all it is about understanding there are consequences for actions, in consequential actions. And so I think, you've got to realise that if you take a knife like that out,
you are prepared to use it.
There's got to be consequences.
In defence or attack, you're prepared.
Well, it's illegal to take. So therefore, you, regardless of age, sadly, you need to be dealt with the consequences, because that will put you off.
What did he get, Nick? What did he get?
An out-of-court disposal.
Which means what?
I don't know what it was. It could have been an online don't carry a knife thing, for all I know.
And that's it?
Go to a workshop. I don't know, something like that.
How are we meant to stop knife crime? If someone's carrying, they get nicked for carrying, it's proof, you've seen the photo, you've got sacked, he's got a little slap on the wrist and said, don't do it again. What's the knock-on effect for all the other 15, 30-year-old, whatever age you are, carrying on the streets? There's no prevention there to go, you're caught with a knife, bam, you got 2 years in nick, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Everyone else will go, oh my God, put the knives away.
Exactly. It's consequential actions. And that's the issue. And that's why maybe we're seeing, unfortunately, a huge rise in knife carrying across the country, across the nation. Like, I go to consequences with the kids I've taught for many, many, many years, right, in the Thai boxing. Now, you know me, I've got people, we train all over the world. I've had people fighting in Vegas, Tokyo Dome, Bangkok Palace, Barbados. I've got people that go everywhere. So what I say to the kids is, I sort of dangle that carrot. Even if you get say you get caught with a little cannabis joint or anything like that, if you get any sort of criminal blemish, at all, it might be only small for you from police, but for me, you won't get what's called an ESTA to go to the States. You won't be allowed to. So therefore, you got to decide. you know, no matter how good at your Thai boxing you are, your actions might prevent you from following the footsteps of all my champions. And that has been, you know, that's why they behave. Because I'd angle that carrot, be like, look, you follow the right path, because otherwise you might not be able to do these rewards, you know.
What happened that night? You wrote the report. What happened the next day? When did you start realising that something wasn't feeling right?
So next day, went in, absolutely nothing, dealt with a couple of jobs like normal, worked on. And that's the thing, you know, you go home and you think, flipping heck, I haven't seen my kids because I got home from a 15-hour shift.
Yeah.
So I left before they were up, got home after 15 hours, them, Denise, everyone was asleep. I'm still dealing with a thing, shit, if that had gone wrong, Denise could be getting a knock on the door. Like that, I was that close, you know, and you sit there and but then you package it up. You go, next shift, get up in the morning, leave before they're up again. Yeah. You go in, deal with your work. Maybe a day later, you know, it's like, right, well, there was a bit of swearing in that, write up what's called an NDM. So I wrote me NDM, which is fine. National Decision-Making Model, justifying my actions. And I think, you know, that was a tactical decision at that point. And I'm not proud of the language. And, you know, I'm not. You know, for people to say that.
Mate, who gives a shit about what language you're using? Someone's carrying a blade. You're doing a job. You're getting this person off the street. Who cares what you use, what language you're using? You said, I got to a point where we're struggling. If you stop struggling, I'm going to smash you. You wouldn't have smashed him because you know there's cameras on you.
Yeah.
What were you meant to say? So if you stop struggling, I'll strike you.
Well, strike was the word.
Strike's the word.
I didn't see any difference.
Does it really matter whether it's strike or smash?
Well, that's
number one. Does it even matter that you're speaking louder than him to make all the people behind put the fear up them as well, that you're serious here?
Yeah. And also, if you think about it, the cameras, microphones are here, right? The crowd is behind, and there was a witness statement that said, I'm only calling in at a time because there's an officer struggling on his own, because that's what it looked like to him, and there's a group gathering behind him yelling, and I'm concerned about the group, I'm concerned for the officer's safety. That was a member of the public that phoned in at the time. The microphone didn't really fully pick them up. And also, when he's gone to the ground, my God, he started screaming. That was you know, I'm thinking, is this a diversion? Is he trying to get his mates to help? I'm literally processing so many thoughts, trying to keep myself safe. He's struggling, you know, and I said, I think I did a damn good job that nobody got injured. And to be criticised for it, and then publicly tried to be humiliated, and knowing the reason I've done it, I've come out strong, is because I know in my heart of hearts I did nothing wrong, not even one iota, and that's me, right? If there'd have been even a little bit of self-doubt to think, do you know what, Lorne,
I should have done, I wish I didn't do that.
I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't put a few extra digs in or something, which I would never do, or like, oh God, I got him in an arm bar and I really wrenched it, and that's why he's got ligament damage. I didn't do anything. I was trying to be so gentle, but like in a UFC and MMA training, there's an expression, you know, a saying, tap before snap. And it was at a point when I was getting him, he was really resisting. I was thinking, my God, I don't want to cause any injury, because you know, ligament damage is really bad, and it would take a long time to injure.
But you were saying, I don't want to cause injury because you know the cameras are on you. So there was no win. There was no win. I think you did an amazing job what you did to get that knife crime off the streets. It's gone pub. I want to know what I'm really intrigued on when you realised that you were like seen as the black sheep. So
it went to the beginning of the next night shift sets. We had a few days off, maybe 4 days after, and we come in for a night shift, 8 o'clock in the evening, 8 till 7 in the morning we're going to do.
That sounds brutal, by the way. 8 in the evening till 7 in the morning.
Oh, it's hectic.
Around Boscombe and Bournemouth.
Yeah. I mean, I lived my life, I felt jet lagged, you know, because you're constantly doing rotating shifts. But so I come in at 8 o'clock and the whole squad's been cleared out of a room. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, you got to come in the office. Okay, so come in the office, sit down. Now, bearing in mind, for 10 years, I've been nothing but commended for my actions, right? Got to serve papers on you for this. It's gone to this superintendent, or that time of professional standards, Ricky Dando, has decided it's going to Grace Misconduct. I was like, you're joking. So like 8:30, they're like, well, look, you can't work tonight. Just go. I'm like, do you know, no, I've never been depressed, Dodge. I'm a happy dude, you know, and I said, what, shit, this is like 8:30 at night. What the hell's going on? I can't go home because the kid, they need to be putting the kids to bed, and she'll go, what on earth's wrong with you? And I don't want to burden her with it right now, because, you know, I ended up walking along the beach until 3 in the morning, just walking, thinking, what the hell? You know, and I get back, I go to sleep, and I think, you know, I'll try and explain it to Denise in the morning, but, you know, that was tough, dude. That was really tough, because I had no idea what was going on. So, you know, then like, well, you're going to be interviewed. So a month later, and I got a prep, and this is throwing me into a spiral. So they're like, right, you know, I was anxious, so I got signed off with anxiety and stress. but stress, work-related stress,
Yeah.
because you can't go saying to someone, right, gross misconduct is all going to go in the press, and for this is this way. Like literally, the way they wrote it out, you're going to be public enemy number one. I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got kids.
Is that what they said?
But, well, basically that's how they're putting it. Gross misconduct for swearing, abuse of power, and excessive force. I'm thinking, geez, I was lucky not to get stabbed, dude.
Yeah.
So I got a month where I'm thinking, and then the Fed go, oh, that's tough. One of the worst videos I've seen. I'm like, so if they drip feed you, to lose your morale, they isolate you because I can't go in, can't talk to your friends, but I'm lucky because I've got a lot of mates externally.
Yeah.
You go to the interview and it's like...
So how long was this interview after that day? You went to work the following day, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then half an hour later. How long was it until they interviewed you?
So the interview was about a month later. So
you had a month of your mind playing all sorts of games with you.
And it does play games.
I'm sure.
It does.
Because don't mind me asking, what was your salary when you were working?
48.
48. And you're looking after a wife, 4 kids?
3 kids.
Three kids,
two kids because one's adult. Literally, suddenly, and that's the thing. So not only have they potentially taken your salary away, your pension, because I couldn't retire at 55, because obviously you'd get your pension at 55 if you retired early, and then, so that suddenly changed things, and I'm like, well, but also, what CV am I going to have? Because sacked for this is this. I'm like, I've given 10 years to you. So I'm in turmoil thinking, Denise, we might have to sell the house, and you can understand how, and I've been reached out to by so many officers who've been in a dark place from this because, they maybe haven't had things to fall back on or haven't luckily had the public support like I've had, and they've been on their own dealing with it. Yeah. So I go into this interview.
Who with?
Professional standards.
Okay.
No, I'm still quite confident because I know, you know what? I'm like, Lorne, I'm a nice guy. I know what I did. Hey, there's no injuries. I could have injured it. Trust me. Yeah, Trust me. I could have. Yeah. I could have gone through all of them like a hot knife through butter. I'm like, I was, struggling not to cause any pain. So I get an interview and, they go, what's it? They go, one way, why didn't you pull up in front of him, walk up to him and just take him by the arm and say, excuse me, sir, can we have a chat? I was like,
that's how I actually say that.
That is how I felt, Dodge. And I thought, I can't laugh at you because you're saying belittling it. But I'm like, I don't want to. This is a masked individual. You know who he is? He's attacked 2 people. He's with 2 others at the moment. He had a knife. You didn't know he had a knife on you, Lorne. No, but when do you want me to find out? When he sticks it in me? It's a bit late then, isn't it? And it's like, my risk assessment was if I walked towards him, he would run like he ran Town Rangers, or if I took him by one arm, he's going to use his other arm to punch me. We ran a campaign for many years called One Punch Can Kill, which is obviously about, sadly, street violence to try and put people off because you can have irreversible effects from just one punch. And you're telling me now that what, one punch is ASB? It's not. One punch can kill. My risk assessment was he was very potentially dangerous. You don't have to have a weapon to be dangerous. I've been bitten. I've been spat at. I've taken hold of a county lines drugs runner who's tried to break my thumb from the grip. They'll go for the weakest position. I've had my testicles grabbed and twisted. There's no rules on the street for people to want to get away. And if you're using rule, which I was, I didn't go straight in and go, oi, run up behind me under arrest, you bitch. I was quite civil. You're under arrest. Got him against the wall. When he takes it to the ground is when I'm in an uncomfortable zone. I lose control of the situation because the worst place to be is on the ground when there's a crowd on the street. In an MMA match or jiu-jitsu, when you've got a matted floor, you've got a referee, there's rules. Take them to the ground because then you're obviously, you're negating the strikes. But on a street, no way. You're going to hit. I remember we hit the ground on my hand. I hit the ground on my hand first. So that started instantly. I was like, damn it. There's people around. One kick, it can all be over. One knife in the back. He's there. He could roll me off. I could hit my head on the wall. There's so many variables and unknown. You do not want to be on the ground.
Go back to that. Go back to what they said then.
So you could have walked up to him from the front, taken him by the arm and said, excuse me, sir, can we have a chat?
Ridiculous. What was the next thing they said?
Then they started analysing, everything I said. You've taken him here, you've sworn, and I'm like, but look how much he's struggling. They almost put themselves in his mindset. He's struggling. You put him in fear.
Why are they protecting someone who's carrying a knife and not protecting someone who's in their team? Why?
This is the whole thing. Even the prosecution. When we went to the hearing, their whole defence, which I thought was really sad from Dorset Police position, was almost protecting the knife carrier.
That's what I mean.
They gave many reasons why he was scared. Do you know what? He probably was scared. He was scared of getting caught. When someone runs from a police, they're not scared they're going to get like beaten up. Yeah. They're scared they'll get caught, and whatever's on them is going to get seized. You know, if they're a drug runner, if they've got cash, if they've got something stolen. That's why they're running. They're running because they're scared of getting caught. He was scared of getting caught. He was doing everything to get away. And if he wasn't scared, you know, if he was scared, when the other officers turned up, he would have gone, oh, please, thank you, save me. He didn't. Yeah. He continued struggling with those 4. So that's what I tried using. From my point of view, it was just common sense.
Yeah.
I've been in that situation many times. I did 20 years of a door and retained my license. I didn't get it taken away. Now, 20 years. I'm a small guy. Yeah. You know, I mean, do you remember Thomas Travinsky on the door of Clue? One of the best guys I worked with. 145k of international MMA fighting. Wonderful guy, you know. Me, 75k of UK Bournemouth person, you know.
But pound for pound 75k is very, very different. I've seen you in action. But, mate.
Yeah, so, you know, if you've done all that and you've never had your licence taken away or complained, 10 years on the force doing, you know, getting exemplary results.
All we've got in our lives is our reputation. And you've got a wonderful reputation. And I know that the whole of Bournemouth and Dorset are going mad about this because they know your reputation. And now I'm seeing the whole country going mad about this.
And that is what saved me. Do you know what the darkest moments were, Dodge? And I can really say this, and it really got me. I've never welled up before, but when I knew they were going to portray me as something I'm not.
Yes.
You know, I've inspired so many kids and so many people through my life. I've tried my best to really, you know, in this life, you're only ever going to leave a bit of a legacy. And if my legacy is I can make people better versions of themselves, and, you know, I can train people not to be as good as me, but to be better than me. I was an okay fighter. You know, I wasn't world champion by any means, but I managed to train world champions. So, you know, and I've given everything. And the fear that they were gonna completely destroy my reputation, my legacy, and who I believed I am, take my essence away, that meant more to me than anything. And then throw me on a scrap heap, still trying to look after my family. My God, that was the darkest moments. And sometimes I wake up at 2-3 in the morning, just go for a walk around the block. I couldn't sleep for a year and a half.
So did this go on for a year and a half?
Year and a half.
So were you allowed back into work?
So
when you came back into work, they were saying, oh, don't go near Lorne, he's in his own room.
Yeah.
Was you really treated like that?
Yes, I went back into work. Wasn't
that sounds like a prisoner.
So after about 4 months, I couldn't do it because it was getting me really depressed. You know, I was going in and I was dreading the journey in.
Yeah.
And I've never had depression before, but I was getting in the car feeling ashamed, feeling embarrassed about walking in that first door, about who I'd see, because I'd almost drop my head and not look at them. Normally I'd have gone, hey, high five, how you doing? Pick everyone up. I couldn't be me.
Yeah.
And it destroyed me. And I had to have, you know, then I had to have a few months. I said, do you know what? It's not good for me. So, yeah, I got signed off for the first time ever in my whole life with anxiety and stress, work-related stress. And it would have destroyed me if I'd carried on going in. It would have. But even when I was on the calls and doing that, I was doing my best for people.
Yeah.
You know, there were people ringing in going, look, I was on the moment of despair. And I would like to say, Officer Castle, he really saved me. He went that extra mile. And, you know, the referral he put in. But it was tough, you know, going in, knowing you're shut away and knowing you're not supposed to talk to people.
It must be awful. Knowing going to work, knowing everyone's staring at you going, oh, he's bad, be careful of him. Or new recruits coming in going, oh, be careful of Lorne.
Don't be like Lorne.
Don't be like Lorne.
Yes.
That must have torn you apart.
In my career, and there'll be some people that have left and they can stand up for me. And there's been things that have been said and really, really upset me. So 2021, I was neighbourhood police officer for a year. And I don't know if you've seen the write-up for that, but write-up for that is phenomenal. And it sums me up, you know, proactivity, inspirational to the others, you know, really good.
I remember you
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
But shortly after that, you know, I start getting my sergeant at the time, different sergeant than I got now, a different squad.
So sergeant's the one above you?
Yes.
Okay.
Saying, you know, and you know, you're bringing in a lot of work, Lorne. I'm not going out committing crimes. I'm doing what the public wants.
Public are paying, yeah.
So bringing in work is defined as almost then being frowned upon. And then he's sort of like a phrase that I'll never forget in front of everyone, my whole squad, PCSOs and everything. But do you know what? Be less Lorne. And that cut deep because I've been happy with myself. Be less Lorne. And there was others in the squad that looked at that and I was like, do you know what? That's hurt me.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm a good person. Yeah. Everyone knows Lorne's a good person, and do you know what?
Are they trying to hit numbers? I don't understand what goes on with the police. Are they trying to hit numbers to say the crime is a lot lower than it actually is?
I don't know, but put it this way. If I go down the street of Winton, say I picked Winton just out because that was my neighbour police area, I could probably arrest, if I've maybe detained someone that's wanted, arrest a shoplifter or stop a drug deal or something like that. Maybe I'll get 2 or 3 people offences. If you had another officer that maybe didn't know where the crime spots were and went for a walk in an area that maybe there is no crime, low crime, then they can put a few Facebook posts up of them smiling in the sunshine out on patrol, and there's no crime stats coming in for their patrol. Yeah. So I don't want to say anything, but that's just a fact. If you go out and you bring in work, you are doing what the community loves. Yeah. In fact, there's one area, and again, I'll send an email to you from them, but they've been absolutely enraged by this, the Charminster community group, the Upper Charminster community group, because I was assigned to them and they said I can use this anywhere. Back in 2020, the poor residents, their area was rife with drug dealing and the secondary crime that leads on from drug dealing. So say you've got an addict that's got a £300 a day addiction. Yeah. No offence to that person, but roughly, and don't quote me on this, but they get about 33p in a pound for stolen goods. Yep. So if they've got to get £300 for their drugs, they've got to nick roughly, they've got to have £1,000 worth of goods. That's a lot every day. Yeah. Every day. That's cheese, meats, bikes, alcohols, bikes, tools from sheds, wallets, sunglasses left in cars, and
phones.
Yeah. And that's it. So that's every day. Yeah. That's just one addict. So I was sent to that area and their email, and I'll send it to you so you could maybe read out a few quotes there. It's amazing. They were so happy, and I had such an engagement with them, and they said, you changed our lives. You changed our lives. That has made such a difference. Coming in, you were actively out on patrol. And no, I wasn't told the addicts, they're addicts. I'm not going to cure their addiction, but they understand that, do you know what? You can't be doing that. There's got to be ways. And if I can maybe steer you to the right paths, I've got to arrest you for this. That's an offence.
Why has drugs and knife crime and sexual assaults gone through the roof in Bournemouth in the last 2 years?
Do you know, I don't know, but it's becoming more prevalent, and I mean, I remember the days when I was going out and when I'm working the door, we didn't have to think of we're going to metal detect everyone coming into to Lost Gardens and Clute and things like that, because it just wasn't done. Yeah. The whole atmosphere was different in the 90s and early 2000s. It was different. There was still, I mean, in Clute, for example, we'd have a members queue and a non-members queue. People valued being a member. They'd dress nice, they'd wear the right clothes. Now I don't think there's anywhere really like that. I think people's respect in everything has gone down, and with a lack of respect, lack of consequences, you then get the people that maybe have gone down that little bit lower, sadly, and they'll think, well, do you know what? I'll carry a knife, and it's not an excuse to carry a knife for your own protection, because that's still against the law. You shouldn't feel that. And one of my door supervisors I work with, Mark Smith, lovely guy, worked with him for years. Lovely guy. When I first got into door work, and he said something, a good security setup should be felt, but not seen. So you feel safe, but not seen. Now, when I used to go out in Bournemouth Gardens and everything in between the clubs, I felt safe. Same. I didn't see loads of police walking around. You didn't need to. But nowadays, I walk Denise to the cinema from parking the car, and walk in, and I am on alert. Yeah, same. I don't feel comfortable. Same. I look around, and it's like this.
When I go into the town, I don't go into the town centre very, very often anymore, because there's no reason to go in there. And everyone I know doesn't go into Bournemouth town centre anymore, because when you do go in there, it's menacing.
Yes.
It's menacing of people from drunks running around, it's daytime fights. It's like, what is going on? What's happened to our beautiful town of Bournemouth? Bournemouth was the place where we all used to come down, or Stag and Hens used to come down and be the safe, fun, happy place with 5 nightclubs open. No clubs, no bars, restaurants are closing down, and it's just menacing on the streets.
You see, I liken it to the 90s in New York, which they took over as what's called the broken window syndrome, which is where low-level ASB is almost tolerated. When that's tolerated, other crime begins to get rife. And you look at it, and when people stop dealing with low level ASB because they say, well, it's not threat, risk and harm.
It all escalates.
It's escalated.
Agreed.
And I think that's the issue.
Agreed.
Because if you didn't have all the addicts clearly sitting on the streets, which start all walking around, now, no, like I say, no offense to them, because addiction is a horrible thing. But if they're walking around, then the dealers are going to see we've got a lot of customers here. The dealer's going to bring it in. Then that's going to lead to sort of like drug rivalry on certain patches, like the ice cream wars, And it just escalates from there. You know, you've got addicts. Unfortunately, they've got to, fund their addictions. That comes as secondary crime. Then the police are, we're getting in the mornings and you're getting a shift and you've got your own workload on niche. You've got 4 calls maybe outstanding. And then suddenly maybe, you're set to prisoner watch or hospital watch. I can't get on with it. And let alone have time to go out and do proactive negative patrol to prevent the next lot coming in. Now, I was always a prevention person because that's why I joined, and when you go, for example, to a victim of a crime, it could be an elderly person you've been to and they've had their house burgled, their husband died a little while ago and their wedding rings have gone, their last memories. Now, I know we might catch that person through forensics and it's going to take time. Never going to get back what you've lost because that's gone.
But do you think after being in the old bill for 10 years, do you look in and going, there's less... The police force is not strong enough. The police force is not big enough. And there's a lot of things wrong with Dorset Police right now.
I don't want to say there's a lot of things wrong because I stayed...
Tell me what's wrong with Dorset Police. What you would do, if you could wave a magic wand today, what would you do to get Bournemouth back to where it used to be?
I think that somehow the police need to be a more visual presence on the streets, in the communities, to actively deter crime being committed. Now that's not going to be easy. However you do that, but that needs to be the number one priority. You need to have visual, high visual on the street that are capable of prevention. Now that needs to be done. That will make a change. People need to feel safe walking down the streets.
I hear you. So why can't we do that?
You'd have to ask someone higher than me.
No. I'm asking you. Why can't we have more police on the streets and have presence in Bournemouth?
Because of the workloads. Because we get in and literally, bang, you're set to go to a prisoner watch, go to this, go to this, go to this. So you don't get to make up your own mind. Do you know, I'm going to go out on active preventive patrol. For example, on a night shift, it's hell, it's hell trying to stay awake. But I used to go out every hour I could patrolling, because I know that in the station, I'm not going to do anything. I will go out patrolling because, if I pass by, I see someone, right, actually, what are you doing this time of night? Oh, you're wanted, or I saw you trying that car door handle. Brilliant. I've got the grounds for a search. Or they might see you duck down and think, crikey, I'm getting out of here because I don't want to get caught. Yeah. A member of the public might be putting their dog out for a last walk or something and see a police car going by at 2 a.m. going, it makes them feel better. We need to be out there. Police need to get out. And that's what happened in the 90s. It was literally tackle the load.
But we say, I'm sure want to get to the bottom of this. We say we need people to get out. It seems to me we don't have enough police to do that.
Do you know what? You run Rugby Sevens, Dodge, yeah? That's a big old site. How many people come into Rugby Sevens?
It's 30,000 people festival.
Right.
Yeah.
How, I walk around there. My daughter walks around there. She went there.
Yep.
She was safe.
Super safe.
She felt safe.
Really safe. And I put a big emphasis, and I've been running this 18 years, independently owned. It is super safe festival.
But you've got more people going there than, say, the Gardens and Bournemouth Square have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gardens and Bournemouth Square, I wouldn't feel safe.
No.
So I would say to you and the public, it needs to be run more professionally.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many pairs of boots you've got. Like, if you had a wrong security firm and you just had a load of boots, like, that's how many security you've got. Yeah. They're just there. No, they've got to be strategically in the right places. They've got to communicate right. They've got to make sure their rotation. They've got to make sure that the searches are right. And unless you can keep the areas of Bournemouth safe, like you keep the Sevens safe, or, that's the problem. We've got enough people on an evening shift between police, CSAS, which are a community safety accreditation scheme. Sometimes in the middle of Bournemouth, they also have independent, I think it was Insight, I think they had on the streets last year and the year before. I don't quote me on that, but I think it was Insight. Now, they all sort of work together, but they don't work together. If you were in charge of you had a map, I guarantee you would get those resources and you would utilise them a far sight better, and the whole of Bournemouth will feel safer. Yeah, it's down to.
I think I could nail that.
Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. And there's a surface area. We've got 67 acres of land where we do a festival. There's a surface area around the area. We need to place them there, and communicate and bring everyone together. So if there's more yellow bibbed officer bibs, I don't know what the right terminology is, the yellow luminous jacket, the high vis, and they're strategically put in the right places and you're all communicating. People start coming back into Bournemouth because they feel safe. At the moment, as a bloke, I've got my wits about me. Going to Bournemouth, I never used to have that.
Yeah.
As a Londoner, I lived in Brixton and Clapham, all these areas where it was mad back in the day. I moved down to Bournemouth 20 years ago. I'm like, this is beautiful down here.
Yeah.
Everyone's polite and kind, and it might be a few boozy people having a laugh, and people are dancing and having a laugh with the coppers and da-da-da. You go in there now, it's menacing.
Yeah.
It's not. I know the amount of people that I know who don't go into Bournemouth.
Yeah. And it's like...
It's sad.
But you see what I mean about how it should be run. Like, you understand people, areas, access, and everything. That is what it needs to be taken care of. Unfortunately, a lot of the police, how we're doing it, they don't come from that background. They're very good in policing, great. And we do have stresses, and if it's an RTC, you might get a sunlock pulled off, but you won't get the CSAS, you won't get the...
What's RTC?
A road traffic accident.
Okay.
Say that, you might get 4 or 5 units sent there.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the issues, but it needs to be strategically managed as if it was a festival. And that's
operation.
That's maybe where the council...
Who's the boss? Who's the boss of Dorset Police?
We'd be talking to Chief is Amanda Pearson.
Okay, and she's the top woman, is she?
The top person.
Okay, and is she proactive? I've never seen her out there. Is she a face? Is she the voice?
Again, I don't know. There's a lot of stresses at top level. There's a lot of things from, other crimes, other things and such like that. So I think maybe the council need to work more with the police, because it's...
You're telling me the council and police don't work closely together?
They do, but like I'm saying, the licensing work with you, don't they?
Yeah.
So when you're doing a festival, they work with you.
Yeah.
You have to do a certain thing.
We go out of our way to work with them.
That's
as well.
exactly it.
Yeah.
So, and the council probably work with you as well, roads and things. So, and that results in a really safe event for 30,000 people.
Yeah.
There's alcohol there.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a no alcohol one. There's alcohol, there's dancing, that works well. That product needs to be copied and emulated for the town. That's what I'd say.
That top woman,
yep,
Amanda, who is she accountable to?
Probably government level, I'd say. I don't know. I stayed on a nice street level copper.
Okay, but my point is, if it's not working, that person has to be accountable.
Yeah.
If it's not working, and Bournemouth is definitely not working, so that person has to be accountable. Who's she accountable to? That's a bit I want to know, because you can't just... I don't know the lady, and I'm sure she's lovely, but just as a businessman looking in, you can't just allow that to happen.
Yeah.
If you're not doing your job properly and there's more crime coming on the same, surely that person has to be taken away and someone must be slotted in that place. Or surely that person who's at the head needs to bring someone in level with me, go, come, we need to crack down on this. Because if we crack down on the petty thefts and the drugs and everything else going on, if we nip that in the bud, that's going to give the confidence of everyone's coming back into town again. And also, which is the knock-on effect of business owners who are running businesses, whether it's clubs, restaurants, bars, clothes shops. They need footfall. And if there's no footfall, they're all closing down. And before you know it, it's going to turn into like a third world town. Yeah. And it is, people aren't going to want to come in because you see empty units in Bournemouth. And I can't imagine many businesses going, you know what, looking at what's walking by, that's exactly the customer base we need. Because it probably wouldn't even pay for the rates, let alone the rent, let alone your staff. Yeah. So, it needs to be, I personally think that somewhere along the line, they need to look at that like you would look at that as a commercial venture. Yeah. They need to look at it commercially. And like I say, the 90s, it was very much in USA, in New York, we are broken window syndrome. Yeah. Because if you can tackle the street level stuff, that's what people see. That's what affects them. And, I think from what's happened with me has been a little bit of a perfect storm, because people aren't really happy with what police are doing at the moment. Whether it be right or wrong, they see in the paper, 6 have gone to arrest for a social media post and this and this. So the feeling feeling's not good, because, and I've had so many messages from people all over the country. We want Officer Castle. We want officers like you in our town. I don't let my kids in a park after 6 o'clock because it's unsafe. Do you feel there is 2-tier policing in the UK? I don't know. I can't say. Do you feel there's 2-tier policing in Bournemouth? I policed my way. If a crime happened in front of me, I dealt with it. And I think everyone should be the same, regardless. You do your own individual threat risk analysis. If it's there in front of you, you deal with it. It's very tough when you're
sitting with jobs that you're told to do and you're taken away to other places.
So you've got no freedom to go, do you know what, I'm going on the streets, I need some freedom to, I know, you being clued up, you can identify dealers, you can,
and you know where to go.
You know where someone's serving up, you know someone, if they're serving, they're about to be carrying, but you haven't, what you're saying is you haven't got the time that, because when you come onto shift, they'll go, oh, there was,
we've got this and this
Karen's
and this
car's been nicked, or go and see Karen, or go and see that, go and see that, go and see that. But there's not enough. There's too much crime for you to deal with it all.
That's a very good way of explaining it. Yeah, so you'll be chasing the tail. Do you see what I mean?
Wow.
Rather than trying to proactively stop, because say for example you stop one person trying car door handles in a night shift.
Yeah.
Potentially that's maybe up to 5 to 10 crimes that are going to be not recorded in the morning. 5 to 10 crimes that might have to be dealt with.
Is it your line boss who says when you come in and say that needs to be dealt with, Lorne?
It's the sergeants and the inspectors. They deal with what they call the demand. I mean, think of it like, but then that comes in from triaging at a source, like ambulance. The amount of calls they get in, they got to treat. And it must be a really hard job to work it out.
How would you explain what 2-tier policing is in your terminology?
It's when you probably treat people differently for the same sort of crime. And from my point of view, I've never looked at it like that, and I've never done it. That's why up until now,
but you haven't. Do you ever see within the police force something's happened there? Is it easy for them to rip that up and go, that's too much of a headache for us to deal with, and it's probably not good on our stats?
No, I think that gets more to when you go into the criminal justice side. So we do our work, we package a job up, and then it's not up to us sometimes the result, as in whether it reaches a threshold for going to court.
Where does that sit?
That sits with criminal justice.
Okay.
So CJS, Criminal Justice Service. So that's a completely different thing. We almost gather the evidence and package it off to them.
Yeah.
And then it'll come back. And you might do tons of hours on a job, tons. A lot of hours off the street investigating, for it to come back, they've said CPS, Crown Prosecution Service, said no further action. And it's like, so then is
that frustrating?
Yeah, it's sad, because all your efforts you have done, all the forensics, all the time that you could have been out preventing other crimes. Yeah. But again, you've done a lot for the victim. They know the more hours you spend over, and then you've got to go back and break the news. And this could be a sexual assault victim, a victim, someone that's lost all of their stuff in a house burglary, and you got to break the news that maybe it's not good.
That R word you just used there, that makes my blood boil. Imagine having your daughter knowing that that's happened to your daughter. Ollie, can you get me some stats, please, on that horrible R word, on how many there were last year in Bournemouth, please? And you got to remember the R word there, they're the only ones that got reported. Imagine if you were a girl and going, I don't want anyone to know this happened to me, I'm not going to report it.
And that's the toughest thing, and that's what I think people don't understand, that policing is a really hard job, because you're going from waking up in the morning saying goodbye to your family, suddenly you might be going to a fresh niner on someone that's woken up that morning and they are saying, this has just happened to me. They're in turmoil. Yeah. You're the first person they're loading out to. Yeah. Right, okay, right. You've got to be empathetic enough to treat them good, but also know, right, okay, we've got to deal with this right, because forensics have got to be done properly. And also we need to make sure that you're mentally okay and look after you. But we've also got to gather the evidence. So it's a really hard job.
Your job is, now we're explaining what it's like to be a copper, it is unbelievably hard. Unbelievably. So you're emotionally giving people time. You're then going out nicking people. Then you have to write a report every time you nick someone. And then this is taking up more time when you could be actually on the streets protecting the streets.
It's really tough.
How would you change, again, wave a magic wand, how would you change the policing system for you being on the street, to knowing what you have to go through, to knowing the energy you have to put in certain things, going, I've got to write a bloody report on that later, what a nightmare, where I can actually be on the street and be the face and actually making people feel safe?
It's a tough one. I mean, that's why PCSOs were effectively brought in.
What are they called?
Police Community Service Officers. I started my career as a PCSO.
Yeah, and you get paid for that?
Yeah, that's a paid role.
What's the difference between a community officer and someone, a normal...
So a community officer doesn't have power of arrest and things like that. So, but they still wear the uniform. So I did a year of that, and believe me, that is tougher than being a police, because you're on the street. You won't get called away to say a road traffic collision or a section offence, because you don't deal with it. So you're the face of a street area. Yeah. You don't have a power of arrest. You don't have handcuffs. You don't have any appointments to try and defend yourself. So you've only got a power of negotiation. So that's where I first went, and I think that should be a really good starter for anyone going into the police.
Well, you learn your trade, how to negotiate. Everything we do in life, you're negotiating, whether it's with your kids, whether you're doing a deal, we're all negotiating every single day. So you learnt your trade doing that.
Yes.
But imagine doing that with no powers, no handcuffs, no nothing, not allowed to nick anyone. Yeah. That sounds like the worst situation you could ever be in.
And then being called a plastic copper. You know what I mean? The whole thing on top of it. But at the end of the day, if you do it well, the way you talk, the way you present yourself, you get respect from people. Yeah. And people know that, like from the days on the door, and it's how you hold yourself, how you
communicate with everyone.
Of course it is. So,
but you're very good at calming situations down. I've seen you in action. You're very good at a good doorman, always calms a situation down, Have we got any stats on that?
Yeah, so 417 knife-flagged incidents in 2024.
Jesus Christ. 417 knife crimes in Bournemouth in 2024. And
then sexual violence, 31 in just April last year, and 300 over the year.
My God, 300 plus in Bournemouth last year.
It's just sad, isn't it?
Mate, just put that. I can't even begin to think what it was like for a female that happening to them. Like, we use this word like quite, that's a nightmare, that's a nightmare. Just go back and what you'd feel like if you were a girl and that was happened to you. How that will affect the rest of your life. Every day when you wake up, every night before you go to bed, every time you're not busy, your mind's wandering on something.
And I think it's everyone, all of us, realistically, in their heart of hearts, their best interest would be to have a safer community. Yeah. Everyone wants Bournemouth to be nicer. Yeah. Even the people, sadly, that are involved in stuff that might not be the best, they know that there's a way out. Yeah. And
there's a simple equation here. Get more coppers on the streets. Communicate to us all via the power of a podcast. I'd like to get what's her surname? Amanda Pearson. Why don't we get Amanda Pearson on the podcast? Because you can, if you are in the council or you are in the police, you haven't really got a voice. You know, you haven't got a voice. You'll have a voice when the newspaper decides there's a big bad crime and the top person got awarded something amazing, wonderful. But actually to have Amanda here or anyone on that who's high up in the Dorset Police, I'd love to have an honest conversation here and find out, because millions of people will listen to this and watch this. All of a sudden, cards are on the table. Then there probably won't be that heated, horrible feeling where people just want to blame the police.
Yes.
Because that must be awful for what you guys are going through. And I know enough people on the bobbies on the streets are all lovely people. They must be all thinking, oh man, what's going on? This is an absolute nightmare, but I also don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to hand my notice in. I've got a family to feed. I'm on 35 grand. I'm just about making ends meet, paying my mortgage and paying my bills. I'm doing a job I don't really like because I haven't got a lot of support from the people above me. There's no win here.
No. I mean, I think that the reason my thing has really caught attention is because, like I say, people aren't really happy with their perception of what the police are doing at the moment and how they're working. They want to see them more out. There's two things that everyone in the country is up in arms about. One is illegal immigration, which has nothing to do with that. And two is they don't feel safe in their communities. Well, if you don't feel safe in your community, go into the shops. Yeah. That's a major failure. Yeah. You don't feel safe walking your kid to school and back. Yeah. You may as well be a prisoner. Yeah. So the fact that they looked and said, "Oh, this officer, he's actually arrested a masked, violent person who had a knife. We want that here." And I've had the proof of that has been literally thousands of people messaging me. Also, it's a knife offence. Yeah. That's a vicious, ender.
Would you ever think about going into politics?
After the turmoil of the last week, I would probably just want to hide away and never be seen again. Go live in a little Thai boxing gym in Thailand with my family and do that. Because what I've noticed is there's people out there who twist everything. Yeah. There's two sides to every coin. But if you don't turn it over, you're not going to see.
Yeah.
Now, I could say something and you'll get someone very cleverly twisting it, editing it, so it just takes the end of a sentence off or something like that. And
but that's why these conversations are so good. Nothing gets edited. This is
exactly.
You can't hide in an hour and a half conversation.
Yeah. So, you know, I just want, I would like to just go back to running a gym, to be perfectly honest, because that is where I see I've done the best good in society. And you can see from all the comments from people have trained 20 years ago. No, you trained me when I was a kid. You were the best influence I had in my childhood.
You've influenced thousands of kids, mate. I've seen it firsthand, and everyone respects you. I want to know that moment you were made to feel like rubbish and put in a room and to the moment when this all went public.
So yeah,
went public last week. Tell me what's happened in your world in the lead up to it going public. Did you still have the fear that you were going to be made to look like the bad man?
Awful. Coming up to the hearing,
which was last week.
Literally the last few days, I was thinking I was almost just not going to turn up because I knew that what was going to happen. They were going to crucify me. I was pretty sure that they'd already had a decision made, and I can tell you this because in October of 23, we got sent to a missing person at night. Avon River had burst, elderly person had been lost, right? We're there, loads of units there, standards, you're not allowed in the water. There she is, right in the middle of a river, on a corner.
You saved her.
In the middle, freezing cold night. So yeah, you know, someone leans out, says, there's a hoop, go there. So right, find a place, as near as I can get to her, everything with my colleagues, strip my heavy stuff off, tied a rope around me, went in, straight in. My colleagues are behind me, went in, holding, anchoring me, but you know.
And you got a massive award for that. So we got an award. Yeah.
And then this happened in January. We're notified from the award, and then I'm off, and I get a message from one of my colleagues. Oh, you coming to the award ceremony? What award ceremony? Oh, you coming to the awards for the river rescue? Oh, I haven't had an email. Had a look. No, didn't have an email. So anyway, long and short of it, you know, I rang the National Humane Society. They said, yeah, we're awarding you this. It's really good. A parchment. Well done. Thank you. We've sent it to Dorset Police. So I did some inquiries, and Dorset Police said, we're going to hold on to it until after your gross misconduct trial hearing. I was like, it's not yours to hold on to.
Yeah.
And you're going to give it to everyone else. My dad had just had a stroke. He might not make it until then. I was like, at that point, I knew they'd made their mind up.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, funny, I came up with the whole plan. I executed the plan. I was on the end of a rope. And they no, you're not coming.
So you knew,
in my heart of hearts, I knew.
So this whole, were they paying you up until the court hearing?
So you get, with the Federation as well, up to full pay, depending you're paying like insurance, it covers it and such, and then it goes to half pay. So it dropped down a bit.
So how long had you been living on half pay for?
About 3 or 4 months, which is tough because, you know, my bills didn't go down half. Yeah. So I just thought, you know what, I don't want to be publicly crucified. And I hate to say it, I thought there's no point, Lorne. And the anxiety builds up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was a dark place. I was really, really, the closer it got.
More so for your reputation.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, this isn't right. So I wasn't going to go. And then literally, Denise was standing by me and she was in my corner this time. I've taken her all around the world and I've been in her corner, literally. She was there. She said, no, I'll come as well.
Wonderful fighter as well.
Brilliant, thank you. She has done phenomenally well.
Amazingly well.
An ambassador, very, very well presented outside.
Well, she's very well respected.
Yes.
And she's a very calm, nice human being, but she's also
ferocious. So, and then one of my old colleagues said, Lorne, I've got a week off annual leave. He lives in Wales. I'm coming down. You're not going in without me. I'm going to come in every day and I'll make sure you go in and out. And so I was like, okay. And then Chris Amy, one of my ex-chiefs who isn't in the force anymore, I rang him and said, boss, I still call him boss because I got respect for him. Yeah. I'm in a real mess, do you know? And for me, a 46-year-old, I was like, I'm in a he said, look, just come over, mate. I hadn't seen him for years. Yeah. Over his house, 20 minutes. Fine, sorted, right, okay. He gave me the confidence to go in.
On the court hearing day?
The hearing day.
Okay.
So
where was the hearing?
At Winfrith. No,
where's that?
Exactly. Yeah. Over in Wool. So it's miles away on its own. So they isolate you. Do you know what I mean? It's done miles. Always a public hearing, but no one's going to come over there. I said, can't we do it in Bournemouth Uni? Because I've got a lot of people interested in this. Yeah. No. You can't ask for that. I was like, well, no, because I want it to be fair, you know? So anyway, went in. Day one is just the accusations, just the allegations. And to be honest, most of them were disproven because they were false. Yeah. And all the allegations from the officers giving evidence against you. So the headlines at the end of day one.
So when you were in that room, there's officers giving evidence against you.
Yeah, the other three.
Your old colleagues still standing up and saying, no, this was bang out of order.
Basically, yeah. And then you got a prosecutor who helps emphasise and I'd say in the words exaggerate and manipulate words they say I felt like a murderer. You know, that's how they did it. And so the end of day one, the headlines were pretty much anti-Lorne because the allegations had come out. But you could read the comments, and the comments were, hang on a minute, let's clear away the waffle. This officer arrested a violent individual who's masked and took a knife off the street, and there wasn't a complaint. I don't care what happened. That's what we want. So the papers then suddenly realised, public's sort of with him. So then I got to put my side. I've got 6 hours being questioned on the stand. 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like, for this?
Yeah.
Is that a good spending of police money for all the people? You know, if you audited what they spent on this, I'd hate to think how much it cost.
Have you seen those 3 coppers?
No, I don't have any animosity.
I know you don't, but have you seen them face to face, knowing that they're going against you?
No, I try not to. Well, I haven't been in, have I?
If 3 of them come in now, how would you be?
I'd be perfectly reasonable because I can justify what I did.
Yeah,
because I did everything with the best intentions.
How do you think they feel?
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that they think, actually, you know, it wasn't lucky there was a knife. Why did he anticipate there was this danger?
Yeah, but I want to understand why your 3 mates, colleagues, have gone against you this whole time. Is there something in it for them?
I don't know. Is
it like that's the bit I can't quite understand, because if I'm in a squad, a rugby squad, I'm looking after him, I'm looking after him. If I've got a team of 17 staff or 16 staff, I'm looking after all of them. I've got your back. Whatever comes out, I've got your back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
because it wasn't intentional. You could see it was just, you know, I don't know. So
that day when you left the court, and they said, and what were the words they said to you when you left the court?
Oh, the last day.
Yes, the last day.
So they deliver it, and they take you literally there and then, give you badge, strip your uniform. It's brutal. I was stripped of everything I stood for, and then driving out the door in my own clothes with Denise, with JT and that, and be like, shit. Do you know? And I felt destroyed.
Yeah, I bet.
Destroyed, knowing that it's getting national media, but the press had started changing to my side. It started being hero cop because of what I'd done.
Amazing. That's what we saw. So when that happened, then how did your world change? Because you've gone in there going, I got the fear, I got anxiety, my reputation's on the line, all my mates are going to see all this terrible press everywhere. All of a sudden, it changed into positivity. Tell me what's happened in this last 7 days in your world.
It's been unreal. So I've gone from being me to being every TV company has been contacting me direct, because my contact number's out there on my training website, and we've dealt with a lot of press and media before anyway through the sports, so it's available. Every TV, from BBC, ITV, GB News, every major newspaper. You know, we had a double page spread in the Times and things like that. In the Daily Mail on a Sunday, page 14, 15, which they said is a special page. So there's been interest. The Telegraph said, for 2 days, the story on me and what's happened to me was the most clicked on, engaged and commented on in the world. Now, that was when Donald Trump and Elon Musk were having a bit of a dispute as well. In the world. Because, one, the other countries are looking in on it. And you can see that. The WBC, of World Boxing Council, even put in something saying, no, reinstate him. Other countries looking in going, England, what are you doing? This is a police officer that's tackled a violent criminal, taken a knife off the street, and you've sacked him for lack of courtesy and respect and things. It's like, there's no injuries. So they're looking at the actual common sense and bare bones of it. And the communities have been right behind me, and it's changed.
How have you felt, Lorne? Like, I know you well enough, right? And I know it's all about respect via your sport and the respect that people give you. How have you felt in that period when it was brutal? And then you're going to go, this is about to go live, and I'm going to look like the real bad man here for many years to come. Am I going to show my face? How's it felt for you knowing that everyone's on your side?
It's really nice, you know, and that has kept me going through, because suddenly, and this is where I think that you can see that the people may be decision makers in police, because one of the decisions they said is they've put online, so it's not me keeping anything here, so you can go on Dorset Police Misconduct hearing, look up the result from my misconduct hearing, and one of the points they said is that the reason that they dismissed me was they believed that if the public were to see this and hear this and know the facts, that they would be distraught and let down with police. So when they saw the turmoil was in my favour, they thought, do you know what, we'll release a body worn, which itself is horrendous. They only released part of it, one little bit. You know, they didn't release all of it, but even shows better and more risks that I took. You know, as in when the knife came out, when he was cuffed up. It didn't show 4 officers struggling with him, which shows, how...
How do you feel today?
I feel really good because now with all the messages from other police all around the country, all the public, this is what the public want. And it shows that the decision makers in the police, by saying, no, we've sacked him because it's not what the public want, show how out of touch they are with the public. Now, the public want the streets to feel safe. Yeah. They want knives off their streets. They want their children to be interacting with and not feeling they've got to get involved with knife carrying gangs and such like that. Even the people that are carrying the knives, bless them, they've made the wrong choices. We need to get them out of there into gyms, into boxing, Thai boxing, rugby, football. Yeah. They need to be there and realise actually life can hold more for you. I mean, what are you going to get just by being a drug runner? You might be thinking, I'm getting all...
So the anger between the general public and the police is at the highest I've seen as an adult.
Yes.
All my adulthood is the highest I've ever seen it. How can we blend this in together? And it feels the same way as well. I'm not calling anyone out here, just that the feeling, and I'm in touch with a lot of people around in this part of the country, in different parts of the country. How's the feeling that there's a lot of anger towards the council? There's a lot of anger towards the police. There's one way we can bring this together and have conversations like this on a podcast. Whoever the head of the council is, please come on the podcast. Whoever you are, if anyone knows who it is, please leave comments below. Let's get them on the podcast and have an open chat. Whoever's head of the police, please come in and let's have a chat. No one's here to get you. Yeah. But what this could do, this could help everyone come together and go, we're working together on this. Because at the moment, there is this horrible friction, which isn't good for anyone.
Yeah. And it is, people want a safe place to live. End of.
People buy into people.
Yes.
And if there's someone the head of the police force and I buy into that person, I'm fully behind you. We'll get behind you. People, if you're the head of the council and you're making all these weird decisions and you're annoying everyone, come on, let's have a convo.
So they can understand the decision making behind it.
Agree.
And not just see the decision, but understand the long term, medium and short term goals and things like that. So you have to see the strategies.
And we're all working together. Everyone wants a safer place. Let's work together.
And that's why I've come on. That's why I've done it. For one, because I think it was I think it was wrong, Dorset Police releasing the body-worn video, just an edited small part of it, and not the statement saying there's people behind me and not what he'd done before. And so
they painted it in a certain picture.
And I think that's wrong. Even in an investigation, we would never just use one source of evidence. So I had to do this because I've been trolled as well. I've had the negative side sent from me from people that don't like police, you fucking pig, you tried to be... He's 15.
Yeah.
I didn't know he's 15.
Yeah.
But does that make him less dangerous?
15's carrying a blade. It doesn't matter what age.
Does that, it doesn't make... We've had 15-year-olds convicted for murder, but it doesn't make it less dangerous. But some people just like to hate. Yeah. So I've had that. I wouldn't have had that if they hadn't released that.
Have you noticed, is there lots of Freemasons in Dorset Police?
See, people have asked me that. I've never noticed. I've never...
You never noticed when they give you a handshake and you go the old... No.
Do you know what? I usually give people a fist bump, and I head them off, and I'm like that. Even the chiefs I did it because that's me. Yeah. Do you know? And I keep myself to myself on that sort of front, so I don't know.
When's the last time you got paid by the police? What month? We're in June 2025 today.
So we were in May, the last day of a hearing. I think 28th was my last payslip. So I'm unemployed now.
So you've gone from 48 grand to zero right now.
Being unemployed.
Bloody hell.
For the first time in ages.
So if the old Bill stood up to this and went, you know what, hands up, we're wrong, I think they'll get a lot of support from Bournemouth and the surrounding areas to go, fair play, they put their hands up. They did, it was wrong. Fair play. If they don't put their hands up and say, no, we were still right, you've lost your 48 grand and people are still going to be angry towards the police. So what's the solution? Would you go back as a cop if they said, Lorne, 48 grand, you start next week, respect, we made a mistake. Would you go back?
And you know, that's a tough question because one, I joined the police because I like to be out there helping the community. And I genuinely, and that's why I've got so much support. So many people have said you've made a difference. So I like that. It gave me a chance to do it. But there'd always been out that doubt. They've painted me in that pit. I'd be an easy target for allegations. I'd be an easy target for if they wanted to say, people above me, look, actually, we'll get him for something else. We'll release it. He wasn't that good. Do you see what I mean? Okay. I don't feel supported.
It's basically like, don't go back with the ex.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean? And I just don't know whether I could go back and be me. And what it probably lead to, which a lot of officers said to me is, we're going to hesitate. I'd hesitate. And in that moment of hesitation in sport, for example, in anything, do I pass it? Bam, you've been tackled.
Yeah, I agree.
And when you're dealing with people who are potentially dangerous, you cannot hesitate. I know my decision-making process and my reactions are done in good faith. So therefore, I don't need to worry about it, which is why I've been here. Everything was done in good faith. But now I'm going to pause. Dad, please, or go a little bit softer. If I'd have gone any softer, he would have got away. He'd have broken his arm free and he would have potentially got his knife. So I don't feel I could police how I need to police if I went back. Yeah. Which is a shame.
It is a shame.
And I think that, we need more support. If there'd have been an injury, accidental.
What support? It goes back to people not wanting to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a copper on the street, you're not wanting to lose your job, but you don't agree with what the government are saying or what your boss is telling you to do. But what else am I going to do? If I'm not a copper, what else am I going to do? Where can I go and get a job? It's paying the bills. I'd love to know the percentage of coppers, if they were really, really honest, say, do you know what? Policing's changed massively. And if it wasn't for this salary, I'd walk tomorrow. Well,
I think the Fed have just released a stat. I think it was 79% of Dorset police said they would not recommend the job to anyone else.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot.
That's a massive.
And I've said, can we see where that came from? Because if you only 21% are the ones sitting at the top,
who don't really know what's going on ground,
then that's a big eye opener. But even 79% wouldn't recommend the job. No. You've got to think there's something not right there.
Yeah.
Because I want to. If I'm running my club, my sports club. I want 100% of these people to be recommending their mates. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Go.
If I found out 79% said, "Oh Lord,
you got a crap business,"
I wouldn't recommend anyone else coming to your club. Well, it's bloody shit, then, isn't it? I'm not doing the job, am I? Yeah. So that's where I do a correlation between everything. And it's worrying that they don't. And then you think, well, if they're not, can they really give 100% to it? So I would be holding back a little bit, which is dangerous, and that gets me into the danger. And I've had so many officers come to me because I don't feel supported now.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I can say there was no bad intention, right? Yeah. Now, there was no injuries. We did that. The result was good. I'm willing to hold my hands up, which I already had even from day one. I said, look, I wrote it in. I'm not proud of the language, and I'm not. One of the rules of my martial arts.
Who cares about the language? Jeez, it was not like. But mate, hold on a minute. Let's get real. I don't know if this world's gone completely woke or whatever's going on. Christ's sake,
but I knew
you've got a blade. I don't care what language I'm using. I'm getting the blade off you. I'm getting protected. I'm taking you off the street. End of. I want support from all my police friends to go, well done, high fives, thank you, Lorne.
So that was,
and it's in the front of the newspaper.
This is interesting. You could do a bit of research on this in a minute. So get back. These officers have done their report and
the three officers.
Yeah, and
are they still officers today?
Two are. One's left.
Who's the one who's left?
Not surprised he left. He didn't seem to have much get up and go about him when he came into the hearing, to be honest, to give his evidence. And funny, he gave evidence, which is what I got excessive force for. Was at the end of it, the guy had been kicking out. So I said, put on leg restraints. So this other officer put on leg restraints. Yet I had to suck the excessive force. I got dismissed as one of it, excessive force for suggesting, not for using it.
Suggesting it.
So that means that you've got this officer out there getting a full salary, fully warranted, who goes, hey, I'm not responsible for my own decisions. And I mean, what if I'd have said stamp on his head? Would he have done it and gone, oh, I only did it because he did it?
Yeah.
And what defence
is he that officer who went to strain his legs, the one who's left?
Yeah, so he put the leg restraints on.
And he's the one who went against you, but he's actually left the police force now?
Yes.
My God. Are you actually serious? Is this serious?
So
you couldn't write this in a bingo mag.
So if I said to you, punch him.
Yeah.
You would naturally expect to be in trouble if you punched him for no reason. Yet you wouldn't say, oh, I only did it because Lorne did it and expect to walk free. Well, that's what happens. That's carte blanche excuse for any. I only stole it because he told me to.
Do you think there was pressure put on these three people to out you?
Potentially.
From above. To go, do you know what? Let's get Lorne out.
Yeah.
But I want you, I'm your boss. I want you three to back this.
Superintendent Ricky Dander, sexual misconduct. The Telegraph. Right, so.
Who's Ricky Dander?
Oh, we'll go into it.
Who is he?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Who's Ricky Dander? So, this gets to PSD. They did their interview.
PSD is
Professional Standards Department.
Yep.
And they say they come back to me and say, really sorry, Lorne, we recommended Dander go further, but Ricky Dander, who's the head of professional standards, has overturned it and said it's going gross misconduct. I'm like, great. So he goes there. Then he goes to training, write a report. The report, when I got it, was redacted. redacted because their opinions obviously didn't support that I should have gone in. If it was supporting, it wouldn't have been redacted, would it? Because it would have been evidence that he used. Yeah. So Ricky Dander's overturned that. So his chief inspector, superintendent, Ricky Dander.
So he's Ricky Dander's
So he's the one that pursued it.
Is he based but down here?
Yes. So he's a superintendent of professional standards, overseeing how police behave. He is. And he pursued this. Now, I was a very good, up until then, I'd only had commendations. Yeah. Really good behaviour, everything like that. And to get... Oh, that's him. Do you want to read that?
Police standards chief on restricted duties after sexual misconduct allegations. Case follows the resignation of the previous chief who was convicted of drink driving.
So these guy, people are heading up our profession.
That's Ricky Dander. What did he get?
And that was in May 2025. So,
and what's he got done for?
Well, sexual misconduct.
Sexual misconduct?
Yeah, so he...
What's that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it can be one of many things, but it doesn't sound good.
Doesn't sound good at all.
So he's obviously been over... Now, with the police, sometimes they have to show what's called evidence of how they've corrected a problem to get an extra job. I'm not saying he did this, but sometimes they do have to do that. So I look at it and think, well, did he try and scalp the good officer and say, that's my evidence? Look at this. But all the while, it turns out he's been sexually misconducting somehow. I mean, that's not a good sign for someone who's supposed to be head of professional standards of how police behave. For us to look up and go, well, everyone else had to call him sir and this and that and everything. It's like, he's the one that put restriction on me, no face-to-face contact. He's been having way too much face-to-face contact from the look of things,
So he's got done for sexual misconduct, but he's the one who's putting the squeeze on you for doing your job.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Well,
I mean, I'm not making any. That's fact.
Mate, listen. I'm just looking in. Like, how does that work?
He's the one that pursued it the whole way. I've just gone out and done my job, right?
Why did he have the ump with you? Did you have something on him?
No. I mean, I don't know, but I look at it. Sexual misconduct. I don't know.
Is he still a policeman today?
Well, he's on restricted duties until his gross misconduct trial comes.
So if he's the person who's meant to be saying yes, no, but he's the one who has had sexual misconduct, who's the person judging him?
I don't know. This is where it just gets clouded.
Mate, you can't write this.
And these are the ones that are pursuing officers like me who are going out, risking our life. I mean,
and these are the people who everyone needs to respect.
Yeah.
But this is going on in the police force.
If I'd have rolled the other way, that knife could have gone in me, 100%. Yeah. Denise would have got a knock at the door, done, dusted, right? Now, he's the one that's judging my behaviour, overturning all decisions, putting the squeeze on me, taking it all the way to the top, all the time. Suddenly it comes out. He is now, and I don't know. I'm interested to see because they released all of mine in the press. I want to see fair's fair. Let's see what you've been up to, fella, behind closed doors, because that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't.
And for someone, if that mindset, people that get accused of sexual misconduct, generally it's because they're abusing their position with maybe junior officers or trying to show off. Do you know, trying to do that. I don't know what he is, okay, and I don't know what he's done. So I'm not making any allegations, but generally it's obviously to do with a sexual nature of some sort. So therefore, is it that he's trying to scalp me to show off? I don't know.
But it backfired.
Well, he's been called out, and it's said, but the public have stood up, and the public have spoken, and I think that the Dorset police now or all the police have got to say, actually, if we are generally putting our uniforms on at the start of each day, we need to make sure we are doing it for what the public wants.
Yeah.
Not what we think or what we tell them they want. Not like Lord Farquhar sitting in his little, tower in Shrek's thing, pointing down at the minions going, this is how we're going to rule the world.
Do you think, just throwing it out there, do you think the people at the top are on such big salaries that they don't want to lose their big salaries? They're just trying to hit figures and stats and numbers that go with how the government want it to be?
I don't know, but I would say that this has indicated and shown that they are clearly out of touch with what the actual public want and need from society. And I think that's an alarming thing. And I think that the reason it's got popular is because, I'm a clean-cut officer as well. I've put my life at risk. I go to work and I do what they're like, we want that, It's a topic everyone is really in arms about. So now it's sort of like I've become almost the figurehead for a lot of concerns. whether it be right or wrong, and there's a lot of police officers that are like treading that thin blue line. Oh, crikey, am I going to get stabbed or am I going to get a complaint? You know, you don't know. Flipping heck, I've got neither. I've got to go back, write it up now, and then deal with the rest of my job.
So do you not think coppers will go, do you know what, I don't want to go to that incident because if I do the wrong thing, I could get sacked.
Well, put it
I
this
could
way.
get stabbed. I could get sacked. I've seen what Lorne done. If I do what Lorne done, I'm going to lose my job and I've got my mortgage to pay, my family's to pay. There's this horrible circle of people not knowing what they can do and what they can't do. And it seems like the people on the ground don't have the full support of the people above them.
Well, did I ever support?
No, but my point is, in business, as a boss and a leader, you protect your team, you stand by your team, whatever. Whether I'm on a rugby pitch, whether I'm running a business, I stand by my team, I've got your back.
And you want them to grow and get the best. And even if one of them makes a bit of an error of judgment, then you help them get back on track.
That's right. You chat it through.
You invest in them.
Done. Let's go. Let's go again.
But even if you looked at it for, I mean, mine wasn't done out of malice at all. Maybe it was an error in judgment of wording under extreme situations.
No. I don't. Lorne, I've seen it, mate. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've seen it. I don't think we have to go back over that. I think what you're saying.
But what they're saying is cast him away.
Yeah.
But not only cast him away, embarrass him,
humiliate him as well,
destroy him.
Yeah, but
I've got a family to look after.
But it's backfired.
Yes.
Just look at the support. What's happened?
Oh, everyone is now. So they're either now going to say we're going to ignore what the public want, which I think is a really sad position as a general member of the public.
But
now,
if they don't speak up, the public that's just as bad.
The public need to continue what they're doing.
Yes,
you know they need to, because society, we all have a vested interest. We just want it safer and nicer.
Are there any coppers, ex-policemen who have been high up who are now retired? I would love to get them on the podcast.
Chris Amy. Okay. 100%. I'll give you his details.
Please do.
He will.
Does he say how it is? He's straight.
Oh, he is.
Boom, that's what's happening.
Chris Amy will come on.
Okay.
He is he has supported me. I mean, geez, this guy left probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to him for 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years or something, because we different areas in the police before he left. He had no.
Did he leave on his own accord?
He'll discuss all that.
Okay, let's leave. Chris Amy, if you're Chris Amy's out there, let's get him on. If there's anyone else out there who is currently serving as a police, I'd love to, police officer, police woman, I'd love to get you on to find out what your feelings are, because I reckon we can bring this together. I think we can bring the community together via the power of podcasting, because there's no hiding. This isn't a 60-second clip that someone's edited. This is an hour and a half conversation where there's no hiding, going, these are the facts, these are the figures, this is what's going on. How can we reignite our town again? How can we get Bournemouth back on its feet again? How can we get the council chatting to the police and the police chatting on podcasts like this to bring it out to everyone, to let people know this is what's going on, guys. We're all in this together. Yeah.
I mean, put it this way. Police officers, I've been contacted by a lot. If you were me now and right, there's a guy making off from a crime.
Yeah.
He's making off. He's not going to stop quietly. Are you going to chase him to your best of your efforts?
Yeah. Know
that potentially there's going to be a physical confrontation at the end, and know you might want to get him in cuffs. You might get injured because hey, they might be stronger than you. It might just not be your day. You might slip or something like that. And also knowing that, Jesus, what if he puts in a complaint against me? Or are you going to think, do you know what? He's gone. I'll just deal with the evidence here and try and catch him down the line.
How many people think that? Go, do you know what? Let's just write the fair. I don't need the headache. I don't want to go to anything. I'm just getting paid.
And then how a criminal is going to feel? They're going to think,
get away with everything.
If I run and put up a struggle,
what are they going to do?
I go into what's called too hard box.
Yeah. Did we find out what that 15-year-old got?
Yeah, he got an out-of-court disposal.
You got an out-of-court disposal. That's a slap on the wrist. Don't do it again. You were caught with a weapon that big. Bang.
It's sad, isn't it?
2 years. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. You get caught. Let's set the standards high.
I mean,
I'd go 5 year. Bam, 5 year. How many kids will just go, that steak knife I'm not taking out. That knife from my mum's drawer.
Yeah.
It'd be gone.
You can spend all this money, like the PCC spend a load of money on knife archers.
Yeah.
But if you're carrying, you're not going to voluntarily walk through one.
Absolutely.
Do you see what I mean? It's like you can do your. I saw on the Bournemouth Police, which is no detriment, a picture on Nightjar, an officer standing all smiley outside of the entrance to BIC.
Yeah.
On Nightjar tonight. So well, I don't remember ever being called to the outside of the entrance to BIC.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a photo of you up in the gardens, not in the middle of the gardens, but in the little bits up by the Avery where the trees are.
Yeah.
Where as a member of public,
you feel unsafe.
Yes. That's where I want to see you.
Westover Road. Westover Road was used to be like the Bond Street, Street of bloody London. Now it's skank.
It's awful.
It's
sad.
My wife went there in the winter. She went into a shop. She came out at 3:30. Went in there. It was like daytime. She went back to her car. And it was dark. She had the fear.
It's sad.
She came home and said, "I had the fear getting into my car, running into my car through a thing because there was just menacing people around." It's sad. Lorne, we could go on for hours, mate. Like hours. This has been really. I really thank you for your honesty.
No, thank you, Dodge.
It's been fascinating, mate. It's fascinating to hear someone go, "This is what's happened." Lorne,
Dodge,
you're a gentleman.
Boom.
Nice. Good man. Nice one for coming on, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you're a superstar. Anyone down there, please leave some comments about Lorne. Where can people find you, Lorne, if they want to reach out?
Well, we're literally about to buy our new gym. So through everything, we're now going to buy a new gym in Bournemouth.
Where?
In the area of Moordown.
Yep.
It's with solicitors right now.
Lovely.
And it's going to
be called?
It's going to be called Moordown Hall.
Yep.
It's a community centre. It's been quiet for a while. Yep. So, the GoFundMe has been phenomenal for people. Absolutely. Because this has changed my life.
Massive respect to everyone's put GoFundMe on this.
Thank you on that. Yeah. Because even 5 years' time, my CV is still going to be trumped by people looking at my name. And I'm aware of that.
But it won't because the powers of this is going to squash all that. The powers of the press and
yes, thank you.
Media. Yeah.
So what we've done is we have taken some money out of our house and such, and we're looking at buying a new gym that's going to be a community centre for the community.
Brilliant.
Putting on things like, obviously, the martial arts that I do, putting on junior roller discos. We're going to have a wellness centre as well. Yeah. So we have sort of yoga, which is really important, sort of keep everything in balance. Yeah. And a little health cafe. So you can find us there. It'll be Moordown Hall. Look up Champions Training Academy.
Where can people find you?
Champions Training Academy has got my contact details. Yeah.
Wonderful. Go and check him out. Please leave some comments down below what you thought of this episode and how we can bring the community back together again. I think you're an absolute superstar, mate. A proper hero locally, but actually it's gone worldwide very quickly in 7 days.
Yes.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
It stands for what people want.
Yeah, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Respect. Good man.
Cheers.
Quick one, guys. I'll be recording Eventful Lives live on stage this year at EMC 2025, the Entrepreneurs Marketing Conference, and it's going to be a banger. We've never done this before, so watch this space. We're taking the podcast out of the studio and into a room with 800 real business owners at an event designed to give you practical, tactical marketing strategies that you can actually implement into your own business to get results. The lineup's massive. Google is speaking, Facebook too, and I'm also going to be bringing a special guest with me. It's all happening on the 19th and 20th of September at Tobacco Dock in London. Tickets are £145 plus VAT, and the price will also be increasing soon. So if you run a business and want to be in the room and see me and the Eventful Lives podcast live on stage, then head over to www.emc2025.com and use the code DODGE20 if you want to get 20% off your ticket. I'll see you there, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to see someone on the show, leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, do us a favour, show us a bit of love, press the subscribe button, and it allows us to grow the show even bigger and bigger each week. Nice one.